Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petrelis, and we are super excited for today's guest. We've been trying to work this out for quite a bit. We're both AC Cougar alums here, so whenever you can have a fellow Cougar on, it's always a little extra special. But a really cool story, somebody who I feel like in a way there's some parallels with our coaching and how we think, but just like going about it and choices made. And so I think a really interesting story today, but was a college basketball coach. I know you coached at Leslie. I actually had a student
hmm
teacher who was telling me about you one day. I go, I know who that is. And so,
Good
yeah,
stuff,
I
I
know you
hope.
coached there. Huge Middlesex Magic coach. I know you one big coach there. You guys are unbelievable. We'll definitely be diving into some of the successes you guys have had
Appreciate that.
recently. And
hmm
gold standard hoops, man. You're a business. What you do, I think you kill it for sure. And obviously on social media, you show it off. And I'm really intrigued by to talk about that because I think you got something there that you're just growing and growing. And new Chelmsford High School basketball coach.
Yeah.
So, back on the head coaching scene,
Yeah.
which is great to see. Chelmsford's always a solid program. You play in a tough league, so you're not shy to competition and some of the top players in the state for sure with all you do.
Right.
So, without further ado, rolling out the red carpet here for Chris Giodarno.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, no problem, man. I'm really glad that we got you on here. I know we've been kind of playing a little bit of like tag and we both have little kids, so it's just finding the
Yeah.
time is always tough.
It's nearly impossible, right?
Yeah.
We're all on their schedules.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Absolutely, dude. So, obviously, there's a lot to dive into here, a lot to talk about. But first, obviously, we're both fellow Arlington Catholic alums here. So, I touched upon that in your intro, but we were 2 years apart. I know you were a real good hoops player. I remember guys that I graduated with, like John McGlynn, Mike Garrity,
Yeah.
Jason Ryan. I mean, those guys always kind of talked about you. And I think we had like a class together, actually.
We
Did we do
did, man. We had
French one or
French.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the boot from like Spanish
Unreal.
and like you go French one as a junior. I was like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a funny story. So, when you invited me to be on the podcast, I told you I had been waiting for a long time. Like the first one I saw was with Craig Kolek, he's the volleyball coach at Riviera where I played basketball in college. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I was like, I need to be on this podcast. So when I got the invite, I was like, let's go. So I text Tom Trainer and I'm like, dude, what class do we have with Petrellis? Was it French? And he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be on the podcast. He's like, that's sick.
That's
Yeah,
so funny. Yeah, I
I know.
sat with you two like all the
Yeah,
time.
I know, dude. I know. I know. It's
Yeah.
so it's so funny too how the mind works, right? Like I remember you told a story that day, right? Or that year. Um, you were like, yeah, it was my birthday this weekend, and you were like, I was having the cake, and I ate like the candles were like next to the cake, and you told me you ate all the candles. Oh, but it was funny how the brain works because, like, you invite me to be on the podcast, and my niece's birthday was last week. So my daughter's like, "Oh, daddy, can I lick the frosting off the candles?" I'm like, "Yeah, just don't eat them."
Yeah, dude. It was real. I kind of vaguely remember when you said that. I'm like, oh my God, I definitely have done that. So like
Yeah.
those
But
Carvel cakes, when those like pink and white candles with blue and white candles. I mean, your Carvel cake, like it matches. Like
it,
it's actually kind of
it
scary.
blends right in. Couple wax candles
Oh
does the
man.
body good.
Hey, listen, but jumping into obviously into coaching for you, obviously, like for
Sure.
me, football was like such a passion, and obviously, when I left college, I knew that I wanted to get back into coaching, and
hmm
we're both teachers and coaches, both of us, so like we
hmm
understand the parallels, the schedules work. It really is like a two for one job, especially if you are in the district that you also happen to be teaching in for sure. But for
Right.
you kind of got out of playing college hoop and everything else. Was coaching something you knew you wanted to jump into? I mean, when your playing career kind of sort of ended, what was your thought about basketball going in the future?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be a coach probably when I was in high school, maybe even like a little bit before that. I remember playing like bantams at St. Francis and drawing up the plays for our team when I was like 12 years old. Um, and when I got into high school, my brother who had gone to Merrimack and was close with a bunch of the hoop players there, he got me into working their camps. So I've been really coaching at camps since I was like 15, and there were kids there who were like my age, 14, 15 years old, and I'm coaching and I'm meeting people. So I knew that at a very young age I wanted to be a coach. Um, it was just something about the leadership, and it was something about making a team come together and play together and be a program. And this dives in a little bit to the Middlesex Magic. So Coach Crowdy Senior was my coach, and I had never had a coach like him before. I had some guys who were just parents and were rolling the balls out. But Coach Crowdy Senior he was just a guy who cared about you. He pushed you. He let you know when you were doing stuff wrong. And I really looked up to that at a very young age. I played with the Magic from sixth grade through 12th grade. And yeah, I remember being young and being like, this guy's screaming in my face. I'm like, I want to be that. I'm going to listen to everything he says. Um, so yeah, so I knew at a very young age that I wanted to start coaching.
All right, and that's great. So you obviously have that in, and I kind of knew the same thing. Like even when I was in
Mhm.
college, like I was back going to a lot of AC games because at that point my younger brother had played and my older brother was
Mhm.
actually coaching. So like for me, I came home a lot to watch in the fall all the games. So I kind of saw how they were going. I
Yeah.
think your year, like that was the first time that like that school went spread and Ernie ran the
Right.
ball, and but they were throwing the
Yeah.
football and
Yeah.
so you study it. So I get it. Like you just kind of a student of the game. Even when I played, like I always ask a lot of questions, like, well, what if this or what if he lines up,
Yeah.
like, and then
Yeah.
as a coach, like I encourage that so much or love that kids that do that because I'm just like, yes, like you're actually
Yeah.
asking realistic stuff here. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
um, but
And
for
the X's and
you,
O's.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say the X's and O's is it's such an interesting portion of it because you know it can get so intricate and
Yeah.
analytical, and there's so many options that you can do. Like a lot of basketball now is it's less predictable movement. It's more read and react stuff. And I've always said like I'm not great at the X and O's, but what I learned from my younger years being around, being lucky enough to be around great coaches is the motivational factor,
Yeah.
and the toughness, because toughness wins, and resilience, and being able to play the full game, the full 32 or in high school or 40 minutes in college, and leaving it all out there. You know,
Mhm. And that's great to hear because I think that that's you have to have a balanced staff in general. And I think that sometimes the leader of the staff has to, obviously, that being the head coach, has to kind of be that guy that can get you fired up. Like,
hmm
you're going to have assistants that are going to do more X's and O stuff, maybe, or more of that, like individualized or paying attention to the smaller things when the head coach is kind of looking at the big things. It's kind of how I
right.
was too. Like, I wasn't a big yeller and screamer. I wasn't a huge rah rah. Like, I was very like prepared and
hmm
understood so when kids ask questions, like I had answers for everything being a coordinator. So it was like,
Yeah.
I know my stuff. No, I'm coming at everyone because I know every
Right.
position here, and
Right. Right.
sometimes I even go with coaches a little bit. Like, you got
Yeah.
to teach us. You got to teach, like, and I'm
Yep.
sure for you, it's the same thing. Like, your business is gold standard. I mean, gold
Right.
standard is gold standard, right? Like, you
Right.
want the
Right.
absolute best. So
Yep.
before I jump into your coaching, like, you gold standard, like, I just want to bounce off of that
Right.
naming that. Like, how did you
hmm
come up with that name? Because for me, like, we were beyond X's and O's, and then we
Yeah.
went straight just to beyond because we felt like it was a better way to range ourselves. Gold
Sure.
standard. How'd you come up with that?
So when I was at Riv, this is funny. When I was at Riv, there was a little like meeting hall that we would watch film in. And there was it was for all the sports teams, and there was a poster on the wall for Rivier volleyball. And with Craig,
Yeah.
I mean, he's an amazing coach, over 1,000 wins.
Mhm.
Um, but there was a poster there, and it was like a picture of the whole team, and it was like the gold standard of teams, like or of teammates, or something along that line. And I remember being like, I want that. I want us. I want my basketball team to be that. And so that just kind of stuck with me. And our my freshman year we were good. My sophomore year okay. Junior year we got better, and then my senior year we won our league championship for the first time. But there was a lot of maturing and a lot of growing up that I did during those 4 years. Becoming a man, becoming a leader of our team. But it always stuck with me. is like, you always have the choice. You can either do what's really hard or you can do what's easy. And the easy stuff, making excuses or, not getting your work in or being undisciplined, the easy stuff is that's nothing to write home about, right? Like do the difficult stuff. So, as I kind of went through, I started to try to embody that, being the gold standard, being the best teammate I could possibly be, being the hardest worker I could possibly be, being the best listener to my coach and trusting my coaches, I should say, and giving to the program. And when I switched my mindset like that, it really started to work, and we started to see team success. So, after my decade-long coaching career in college, and I started this business, I'm like, there's no other name I could possibly go with. You know,
That's
it made the most sense. And, I think a lot of people are like, oh, gold standard who wants to be the best. Yeah, we want to be the best at working hard. We want to be the best at having the mindset. We don't just work with the elite. We work with all skill levels, all ages, and we believe that everyone, they put their mind to it, can be good at whatever they want to be at, or whatever they want to do. And that's our mission is, teaching success in life through basketball. So when you come to workouts with us, you're gonna learn a lot of basketball, but you're gonna learn a lot more about perseverance and hard work and stick to itiveness and dedication, um, and items like that.
what now. So when you like, where are you guys home based, and how to like,
Mhm.
what do your sessions look like? What do your training sessions look like? Is it just range and all sorts of things? Or you kind of like a combo package? How does that work?
Yeah, we started out doing solo workouts and small group workouts. So this whole thing started in my brother's driveway because my niece was in sixth grade going into seventh grade during COVID, July of 2020. And she was my first client. So, it kind of just stemmed from there. But being a teacher
Yeah.
and being able to like map out lesson plans was great. But one thing where teaching really helped is the ability to assess in the lesson and ad lib and see like, all right, what does this person need right now? Oh, okay, let's go off the plan and let's attack, this weakness or that weakness or whatever. So being able to have those like quick check-ins or those quick assessments to see where people are has definitely fueled our workouts and our attention to detail. But we've grown ever since then, man. It's kind of crazy. Like we had over 1,500 clients this year so far.
That's
Um,
unbelievable. That is
yeah,
crazy.
so across all clinics, all camps, all of our 3-on-3 leagues, our summer select league, so but our big thing is we can't get away from our mission, and that's quality, right? Like we want to be able to teach success in life to everybody through basketball, right? So now we have over 20 coaches. We keep our ratios at about 7 or 8 to 1, but we've expanded into our skills academies that usually have 40 or 50 kids in each one. So we'll go with like 8 or 9 coaches, um, and just
And how's that
continuously.
process for you? Like when you select coaches, like obviously the ideal is they stay forever and ever and ever, but I'm sure
Yeah.
you get a decent amount of people that apply. Like for you, what's that gold
Mhm.
standard, I guess, as far as those that are kind of teaching that message of yours?
You gotta live up to it, right? You have to be picky. And if people, message you or reach out and they're like, I want a coach. Okay, that's fine, and we'll talk and we'll see where it goes. But when my former players come back and I know the type of character they have and I know how hard they work and I know that they want that responsibility and they're great with kids and they're great at teaching the message, that's when it really hits home. So I have a few former players who have come back to coach. Obviously, we've partnered with the Magic, so Mike Crowdy Jr. is one of my closest friends, and we work together in the training as well. So what we've done is just kind of like surrounded ourselves with coaches who are one way or another tied to our coaching tree, or um, extremely passionate about what they do. So at our you know our camps and clinics this summer, we had probably the tightest knit team of coaches I could ever ask for. It was just it's been great. They've been so good. Jay Deturley is someone, he plays at Tufts right now, and he played for me with the Magic. He's been training with me for 3 years. So he's been incredible. Tom Letellier is another one who he's coaching with the Magic, and he played for me with the Magic, and now he's been doing some training for 2 years. Tony Pastore is one of my closest friends, and I've known him since I was 10 years old, and he's done some training with us. And then we started branching into the developing the girls side this year. So we had three incredible female coaches this year: Jordan Striggles, who plays at Regis College, Alyssa Moreland, who plays at Brown University, and Callie O'Brien, who plays at Tufts. And the added value, because they are high character people and they're giving to the program, it's just, I mean, words can't even describe how beneficial it has been for us to have such high character people on our coaching staff.
I think that's so important because, here you are literally naming every single coach and having something to say. I think that's like matches to the name, gold
Yeah.
standard. You have
Right.
something to say about everybody and who they are and what they bring to the table. And
Right.
understanding that, yeah, like hiring just to hire is not gonna help your business. And to hear how quickly
Right.
you've grown, obviously since just COVID alone, is amazing. And I want to
Mm-hmm.
jump back into more gold standard stuff later on because we definitely
Mm-hmm.
have some other parallel connections that are kind of cool that we talked about a little bit off air. But quickly, I want to
For
go
sure.
backwards because what led you to gold standard, was
Mm-hmm.
really when you were coaching in college and then
Yeah.
a decade of coaching, and then you obviously, you and your wife got pregnant and you had kids, and that changes everything. Trust me, I know is why I'm not
Oh
coaching,
yeah.
why I'm here, right? So like,
Right.
I get that. So just talk a little bit about quickly, the college ranks, but most importantly for you, like you made that decision to start this business. So I also think it's kind of cool
Mm-hmm.
to see like what the cause was. Now that we've seen the effect, like now we're kind of seeing what the cause was for that.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, so I started out coaching at Rivier, where I won a championship, and I was there for 3 years, and we were not in the same spot that I left it. We were bottom of the league, and we battled. We battled. We got some really good recruits in, and within 3 years, we were a game out of a home playoff spot. I think we finished like a game behind fourth place my
Yeah.
final year. But to see a bunch of again, like, individuals really come together and sacrifice for each other, and really buy into what we were telling them. Like, we had a top 30 defense in the country that year, which, if you know Division III basketball, for a year to have a top 30 defense is like unheard of.
Yeah.
um, but you get a bunch of kids who buy in
Right.
and who love each other and who believe in the program, and great things happen. You
Yeah.
know, for us, it's never been about wins and losses. It's always been about, at the end of the day, we have each other,
Yeah.
and if you have your culture and you have your identity, that's what you can lean on in bad times, and that's what you can really feel good about in the good times. So those guys, they battled, and we won a lot of games.
Yeah.
And it was a tough league. I mean, two top 25 teams in the league. The that league is just crazy now. Like, they have
Yeah.
the best Division III, number one Division III team in the land for, like, majority of the season last year. So so the GNAC was a really tough league. And when I was 29, I caught wind of an opening at Leslie, and I applied for it. And I know another, former AC Cougar, Janelle Iaquinto, was the softball coach there, assistant
Yes,
softball
yeah,
coach.
I had her on the
Yeah,
podcast. I had her on here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I reached out, and And yeah, I did the interview, and I was like full steam ahead.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my God, here we go. I might be a head coach. This is great. No home gym,
Yeah.
not full time, very little resources, no recruiting budget, um, you know, no office, no nothing. It was tough. Um, I was teaching 7 hours a day, getting down to Cambridge right after school. I go watch Harvard practice a bunch because I knew a couple of their assistant coaches. And then I'd head over to Leslie, which is right next door. We watch film, or I'd watch film. Then we watch film as a team. Then we go practice. Like 7:30 to 9:30 at BB&N, and then we do it all again the next day.
Yeah.
Um, but my stop at Leslie was incredible. I mean, we set the wins record, 2 years in a row. Just taking a team that was like notorious for losing,
Yeah.
and getting people to buy in, and getting people to come there and understand that, like, it's not about our resources, it's about each other. I also knew that I didn't really have a platform to be picky in my recruits,
Right. Right.
but
Right.
there was a lot of kids we said no to because I would rather play the long game instead of having to teach kids how to behave that I
Right.
didn't think fit the mold of high character, high academics, and then talent.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, incredibly successful at Leslie. It was awesome. I
I mean,
mean,
how do you pitch that to kids? You're like, yeah, listen, we have no home gym, no
yep,
locker rooms. We're probably having meetings in some random meeting room that's not even like
yep,
really labeled athletics, right? You guys end
yeah.
up playing in Medford. Did you get Medford's home gym? Did they do the floor over there or something?
So my last year was the year before they moved to
Oh,
Medford
so
High.
you didn't get that.
Yep,
Where did you play then?
we played it at BB&N.
Oh, BB&N. Okay, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
yeah. It was. I
Yeah.
mean, like
Nice
proximity wise,
facility.
it was
Yeah.
fine. Yeah, like, and
Yeah.
it was a beautiful facility. But it was like, we couldn't get in there until 7:30 at night, 9:30 at night. Depending
Right.
on who
Not
was
great
practicing.
times.
Yeah, yeah. Not exactly awesome.
Yeah.
But I think that those are very superficial things. I think everybody wants the nice weight room, and everybody wants the nice gym and the resources and all that. But, like, we're not playing at Kansas. Like,
Right.
this isn't Duke. So let's be honest. What do we have? Let's really enjoy the things that we have, and let's enjoy each other, and let's make this the most fun experience. Because a lot of people just think that, looking from the outside, we're not going to be successful. But no one was going to work harder as a coach to recruit kids that we believe we're gonna help win.
Right.
That we're going to help build winning habits. We're going to help build our program and our culture, the way we did things, and who we are. So yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily like have a pitch, but I remember going into certain meetings with parents and kids, and just being like brutally honest with them.
Yeah.
Like, every school that's recruiting you has a better gym than us. They have more access to it. They have, they have every resource that we don't, and you should still come here.
Right. But we're in Cambridge and our cap's not bad. Our cap's pretty
Yeah,
good.
exactly, exactly. Um, but yeah, I mean, the location is like, there's
Yeah.
no better location, I don't think.
Yeah. You got
So
both.
a couple years later, when we're beating like NUMAC teams and CCC teams, and we got 17 wins in a season, it's like people are like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
um,
Exactly.
but it was a bunch of kids out of region who really believed in each other, and they still do. We just had our reunion, and everybody flew into town, and we had it at my house here. We had a little pool party, so
Yeah.
we still stay connected,
That's cool.
and yeah, yeah, it's really cool. And those guys, they battled. We lost in the semifinals both years. My last 2 years, I should say, and no Leslie team had ever done that
Yeah.
consecutive years, and they saw the most success in terms of like wins and losses over 2 years, but I don't even think it's comparable in terms of like the success they saw in terms of culture. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just it was different. It
Yeah.
was just it was it was a special group of guys.
Well, it's interesting to
Um,
hear you just say that because it's like here you are kind of talking about, culture and talking about building a program and having the right fit and being like a
mhm,
family. And here you are, these kids are flying in to like come to your
yeah,
house. You're still hosting them on top of having your own kids, on top of running your own business, on top of coping with the Middlesex Magic, on top of now
right,
pretty soon, right around the corner from your own high school program season. Like,
yeah,
yeah, so it's just like I hear that and like people think that's crazy, right? But I look at that and I'm like, I'm the same exact way. That's exactly how I
yeah,
am. Like, dude,
yeah,
every tube of time I can like squeeze things in and do it, dude. It's how I am. So to hear you say that, like, I think that that's the coolest thing you said out of all that is like you. Anyone who's literally listening here, like you practice what you preach, like you're a building
yeah,
culture. And like I heard that for a long time, like culture over wins. And I say that to people all the time because wins are going to come. Like as a
hmm,
coach, you're going to coach games and you're going to win games by being smarter than coaches and being more prepared. Like you're going to win your team some of those games, but
sure,
how do you handle tough situations? Like I always joke and say how a team handles a 2-minute drill is like in football is like what you need to know about them. Like can they
hmm,
do it? Are they consistent? Can't they do it? Like making mistakes? They shoot them. Like you learn a lot. That I'm sure in basketball, there's a window of time or a certain amount of time or a certain part of a game that you look at that window of like these are the most important minutes of a game. So like
yep,
you're gonna steal games, but to have a team that knows how to battle through that stuff, and that's what it seems like you kind of build more than anything. The wins are gonna come. The wins
yeah,
are there, but
yep,
setting that stuff first is key.
yeah.
It's key.
My the key to my personal philosophy is, we will not sacrifice coaching behavior for anything.
Yeah.
So if like a lot of coaches will be in practice and they'll be like, all right, we need to get through this part of practice. And oh, let's run this X and O's, like whatever this play is. And then well, come on, you're not paying attention. Guys on the bench, like, or guys on the baseline, you're talking, or I got to keep going over the rules with you guys. And that's not what it was.
Yeah.
There was a certain level that you had to live up to be part of our team. And I got a really good story for you. So
Yeah.
there's a certain level that you have to live up to be part of this. And when guys started seeing that, they're the ones that made the standard. They're the ones who made it special. Um, then they start believing in it. The wins will eventually come. But if we have a recruit on campus and I ask my guys, because he's obviously going to say the right thing to me, but I ask my guys, hey, what's his character like? When I wasn't there, and they're like, no, no, he's a good one. No, no, he's a bad one. Like,
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, culture is nothing more than the worst behavior that you tolerate.
Yeah.
And so if everybody was on the same page every day and we really trusted each other and we could call each other out on our bad behavior, it starts policing itself.
Yeah.
And now our super successful year was successful because all we had to do was coach basketball. I never had to coach effort. I never had to coach energy. I never
Yeah.
had to coach focus. I never had to coach behavior. So when you go in and you spend 2 hours every day just focused on basketball, what do you think the results are going to be?
Right.
Because if you do 5, 10, 20 minutes a day, blowing the whistle, no, go get a water break. No, I need you to focus. I need you to listen. I need you to do this. Do that 20 minutes a day. That adds up over a season.
You just lose time. I mean, that's the biggest
Exactly.
thing is like time, 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 like segmenting practices. Like we used to do that a lot. And I get like so frustrated when coach like, oh, let's just shorten this. I'm like, yeah, let's shorten our motions and how we do our fakes and handoffs so it's sloppy in a game. Like, yeah, let's
Yeah,
shorten that period. Like, come on, like so I
exactly.
get what you're saying with that. It's
Yeah,
it's like kind of making sure that certain things just are unsacrificable in a way. I don't even know if
right.
that's a word, but like
Right, but you're
that's
right. No, that's exactly what it is,
yeah.
and yeah, just setting that standard, having the guys own it. They owned it, man. It was a special group of guys,
Yeah.
and they were from all over the country. I mean, we had kids from Florida, Virginia, Connecticut, Michigan, California, Cambridge, which was awesome.
Yeah.
So they're from everywhere,
Yeah.
and to see them. come in and let their egos go, and buy in. It wasn't easy, but
Yeah.
it took us a full year. But
Yeah.
you know, anything worth building does take time.
It does, and I mean, yeah, I trust me. I took a beating early on, so I get it.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. We have a 17 win season at Leslie. It was our the most wins in school history. I'm also the proud owner of a 2-win season. So
so yeah, you see it both ways.
yeah,
Sometimes you got to
exactly.
see it one way to get the other way, right?
Bingo,
So,
bingo,
um,
exactly.
and then for you, obviously the decision you mentioned, 10 years and then obviously having a family and obviously I know what that's
Mhm.
like. I have two kids myself and for you left coaching for a little bit to be
Did.
a family man. But the
Mhm.
things like obviously Middlesex Magic kind of always been something you've been a part of and for a long
Yep.
time. But 2020, it seems like COVID is really when all this stuff really started kind of taking off for you when you really jumped
Yeah.
in. But talk about balancing family with all this because this ain't easy, dude. Like you left
No.
coaching and now you are going back into it. So we'll touch upon that,
Hmm.
but it's tough to
Yeah.
balance it with you gotta have a heck of a wife to be helpful
Yeah.
with them too.
Yeah.
So
She's a saint.
yeah.
Just I mean the I say it to her all the time. I'm like, dude, how did you even put up with me? I'm like, in my 20s, if we had lost the game, I was miserable for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but I think she saw that I loved it, and she started to love it as well. Actually, I should say that she just loved that I loved it.
Yeah.
So she was super supportive. And then when my daughter came along, I was coaching at Tufts, and I was like, yeah, the writing was on the wall a little bit. I peeled back. I was no longer a head coach. I was an assistant coach. I could kind of, you know, pitch in, come and go as I please. I underestimated the importance of or the responsibility of being a dad,
Yeah.
which sounds ridiculous to say, but until you're a dad,
Until
like
you
you have
do it, dude.
no
Yeah, you
idea.
think you think you can balance everything, because you've
Yeah,
been doing it your whole life. Yeah.
exactly. Um, so I'm at Tufts and my daughter. I was there for a year. My daughter's a year old. My wife is pregnant with my son, and we went through like 1 week where I missed like 3 games, and I was like, "This might be it." Like my son or my daughter's sick, my wife is sick, I'm sick. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, right in a row. So I'm like, this might be it. I'm like, if only I could have a sign. I literally
Yeah.
said that out loud. I'm like, if only there was like a sign. That was a Saturday. Sunday night, I was in the emergency room and I needed my gallbladder out Monday morning. I was like, oh, okay.
Is that
Could have been a gentler sign. um, but that was it. That like the 4 hours of sleep and eating out every day and not taking care of my body, not getting the right exercise in, mentally not being in a good spot. It all kind of played into it.
yeah.
Um, and so that was, I left in December of 2019. My son was born in March of 2020. And as everyone knows, the world shut down 3 weeks
Right.
later, 2 weeks later. Um, so I had like an extended period of time to really stop and process and think about what my life was going to be like moving forward, whether it was going to include basketball or not include basketball, and more importantly, how my life was going to turn into our life, all of us. Um, so, I think that yeah, it was the 2 grand stipend was not cutting it
It's
anymore for
not
the
there,
30
dude.
hours a
It's not
week.
worth it. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not worth it.
yeah. No matter how much you love it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Um, because you got these two little incredible
People.
people that you've
Yeah.
created,
Right.
right? And it's like, you have to provide for them.
Yeah.
And so, just kind of going through those months, they were up and down. I knew that I wasn't coaching, but it also helped me that nobody was coaching.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really missing out, and I could really focus on, what I needed and getting healthy, and what my kids needed, and what my wife needed, and just spending every moment with them from March until, July or whenever the doors open back up. Um, it was it was incredible. It was exactly, you know, where I should have been at that time, whether it was COVID or not.
Yeah, it's
So,
funny. I mean, that was kind of how I stepped down like that January, and then COVID happened in March. I was like, thank God. Like, in a sense, like,
oh
thank
yeah,
God, because I
I
was like,
know.
imagine doing this at this point with the twins and now being like the world locked down. And um,
Yeah,
so there was, in a way, that was like, I kind of was, thank God. So I get it. And, and
yeah,
even now, like doing this podcast, like we were talking off here a little bit, like I teach, I do this, I do work a night job, I do run summer camps. Like I do like working and I have like no problem with that.
yeah.
And for me, I think it's just like, it's the hustle of it, right? Like it's
Hmm.
just wanting to advance and get better. But like with this podcast, like I'm working a night job because I want to be able to buy X, Y, and Z for our
Yep.
film and coverage or whatever. So it's like, for me, I take my kids everywhere. Everyone sees that. Like if you look at my social media, it's about building like
Hmm.
what Beyond is, and it's just
Yeah,
it's everything, And
yeah.
to me, I think that's important because I think when you're building something, and I don't know what this something is yet, but when you're
Right.
building it, I think it's important to be as pure in who you are as possible. Like you say, like
Yep.
setting standards, and I have a certain expectation. Like we don't cuss, we don't say bad words, we don't do inappropriate things. Like we do things the right way, and like I would
Hmm.
want my students to be able to listen to this and watch this, just like I would want a high school kid or a college kid who's interested in whatever process they're going through in sports to be able to listen to this. And there's a balance of that age, is both ages can listen to this and thoroughly enjoy it. And even like we range from 18 to 42, like it's like a third, a third, a third. Like it's crazy. So
Uh,
they're just, it's fun. But the point that I'm trying to make is like, yeah, like I had to give up coaching because I just my babies, and like, and
hmm.
then you think about your babies, like you thought about, okay, gold standard. Like I thought about
Hmm.
Beyond at this point. Like that's COVID. Like
Right.
COVID did that for us because of whatever reason or whatever we went through, like you led you to that point. Now for
Yep.
you, gold standard, and it seemed like Middlesex Magic, and I'm just saying this following your social media, so I could be a little inaccurate, but they're almost like they were pretty parallel for, I feel like, such a long time. Like when I look at your
Yep.
stories or I look at your posts and everything else, Middlesex Magic, I mean, you guys are unreal, man. I follow you guys on Instagram. I like a lot of your stuff. I know Ryder
Thank you.
Frost, a kid from Beverly. We cover them at
Yeah.
the Garden. He's the real
Hooper.
deal.
Kid's a
And
hooper.
so, watching you guys, I know that you won recently a big Under Armour tournament. So there is
Yep.
some legit basketball happening in Massachusetts, and kids, it seems like you guys are sending kids everywhere. Kids are committing everywhere. So talk
Yep.
about that, because that is, I mean, gold
Yeah.
standard in a way. Like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. The Magic is the club teams. Gold standard is the training, and being involved with both of them and having them run side by side, it has just been amazing. So I've been coaching with the Magic for like 13 years now,
Yeah.
and um, and when I first got the job at Leslie in 2014 is when Mike and I started coaching the top juniors and sophomores together.
Okay.
So it was interesting because for like 3-4 years there, I was coaching the 11th grade B team. B team, we're beating A teams all over the place.
Yeah.
And our guys are like our B team guys are going to like Trinity and Tufts and Wesleyan and
Right. Like this.
it's like these kids are premier players in New England, like really really good kids. And they like we just littered the NESCAC with kids. I mean, even like Bowdoin and Hamilton and like it was just crazy kind of how good it was. So excuse me. So 2014, Mike and I start coaching together. With Bill Boyle, and each year it it starts getting a little bit better. Like we had top tier Division 3 kids, and then we would like mix in a Division 1 kid, or maybe like one or two of them, and then it was like two or three of them, and then it was like five of them, and then it was like six, and so forth and so on. And a lot of our culture stuff that I've learned along the way, I think there's been no better teacher than the Magic. because, we have kids who are playing in the Big East, playing in the ACC, playing in the Ivy League, going to the highest academic schools, going to the highest basketball schools. And these kids, in the most important time of their lives, the live recruiting period for high school, they're sacrificing for each other to win more games, to get more exposure. And in the world of grassroots basketball, where everything is so individual and it's ranking and individual and accolades, the magic has forever been the team, the program, each other, we over me. And the amount of success that we've seen because kids fully buy into that principle has been outstanding. Before we were Under Armour sponsored, we were known as the sneaker killers. We would play the Nike teams. We would beat the Nike teams. We play the Adidas teams. We beat the Adidas teams. We play the Under Armour teams. We beat the
I
Under Armour
like
teams.
that. The sneaker killers. I like that.
Yeah, like we had. I mean, when Tyler Kolek was playing for us, he's at Marquette now. Big East Player of the Year last year. Big East tournament most outstanding player, third team All American, I believe. I mean, it was like him, Tommy O'Neill, Jay Turley was on that team, and we go through our summer, and we're 21-1
Yeah.
throughout the summer, and the only team we lost to beat us at the buzzer. It was a Nike team, but we're all over the country. We fly down to Florida. We beat an Adidas team in the Prime event, one of the best Adidas teams in the Prime event. We in the semifinals we beat the New York Rens in the finals to win that, and they got Kofi Coburn, who played at Kentucky and Illinois, and they have all these highly touted recruits, and we would just beat them with with the team game.
Now,
So
I mean, some games, I mean, when you mention some of these teams, and maybe these aren't the games, but some games you guys like murder teams. Like, are these teams you're
yeah.
murdering, like these Nike
Yeah,
teams?
so no,
Okay,
no,
okay,
no,
okay,
no, no.
okay,
Before we
okay.
were on the circuit, they were pretty nip and tuck.
Okay.
There was some real, there was when the Kofi Coburn's like you know 8 inches taller and like 100 pounds heavier than our biggest guy. It's like
Yeah.
what can we really do? So we coached our tails off, but as we've kind of matriculated here and we got the Under Armour sponsorship, um, you know, we have really kind of put our team imprint on that circuit. So our first live recruiting period in 22, how it works is in April, they'll have 2 live weekends. So the first weekend is your preliminary weekend, you play your pool play. The second weekend, you go into your bracket, whether you make the championship bracket or the consolation bracket. And then they'll do the same thing in July, same format. So in April of 22, we come out and we're the new kids, and we go into the first April live period. I think the sophomores, the 16U, we went 3-1, lost our first game by one. Juniors go undefeated, both in the championship bracket. We both win the Under Armour Spring for 22. And then we go to July. We do well in our pool with the 17s. We ran out of gas. We had a highly touted recruit, JP Estrella, who's now at Tennessee, and Mike Loughnane, who's at Davidson, Logan Carey, he's at UMaine, Joe Nugent, who's at Holy Cross, Ryan Mila, who actually repeated, but he was on that team, and he's going to Providence. And we're out. We lose in the first round with the 17s, and it was a pretty bitter defeat for us. I think there was a part of it that we knew we could have done better. We knew we should have done better, but we came up short. But like I said, we still had each other, right? So, but the 16s, they win their pool. We're in the championship bracket in July of 22, and we advance all the way to the finals. And we lose in overtime by 2 in the finals.
Ugh.
And those kids, like that core group of guys, the CJ Happy and and Jay Jones and Luca Taves and CJ Cox. Um, we had a core group of guys who were going to, come back and stay together. We knew that. And, I remember we were in Chicago, suburban Chicago, at this huge complex. And I remember when we lost that game in overtime, we met out in the hallway. And as we were walking out, they had these big pane glass windows where you could look into the gym. And the team that we had lost to was celebrating squirt guns and cider and goggles and spray can, like, the whatever, the silly string.
Yeah.
And I walked into that gym and I just looked at them for 5 seconds. I was like, yep, that's going to be us next year. I was like, that's all I needed to see. So we come back, fast forward, it's April of 2023, and we got the core group back. Ryder was also on that team.
Yeah.
We got that core group back, and these guys they're working, and Mike and I are meeting a lot. There's huge expectations. And, I think when you look at it on paper and you spend so much time away from it, it's very easy to just be like, we should win every game by 40.
Yeah.
And if we don't win a game by 40, it feels like a loss.
Wow.
And there was a little bit of that. And if you get into playing for perfection, it's really bad. Like you should never ever do that. You should enjoy each game. You should enjoy the ups like you enjoy the downs. But you got to have really strong identity and really strong culture and self-awareness to be like, let's take a step back. Maybe it shouldn't look exactly how we expect it to look.
Yeah.
Maybe this team are just a bunch of grinders and it's going to be a little closer, but they're winners, and we know that they're going to execute and they trust each other. So April was okay. We're out in Arizona. We didn't shoot the ball well. We picked up a couple losses in the spring. And it was just uncharacteristic of us, of that team. We weren't really used to that. So the next weekend we go to Rock Hill, South Carolina, and we're in the championship bracket. And I should say this: we get to Rock Hill, and we got 2 games that we have to qualify. We got to win both of them to qualify for the championship bracket. We're playing Team Charlotte, which is the home team. They live 20 minutes from Rock Hill, and then we're playing SOH Elite later that day, who have a 5-star wing, and they're really, really good, and they're really well coached. And we knew that we had our work cut out for us. And we come out and we beat Charlotte by 2, and then we just put it on SOH.
Yeah.
And we advanced to the championship bracket against a team that we really know well, Team Thrill from Baltimore. And Team Thrill and the Middlesex Magic have won up to this point the past 4 Under Armour championships,
Okay.
2 in the spring and 2 and they won both in the summer of 22. So it's all come together. We pull them in the first round. They beat us by 3. They edge us, and as we're looking forward to the summer, we're like, okay, what do we do with our underwhelming results in the spring here? And we got back to the drawing board, man, and we just kept working, and we kept grinding, and we kept to it. We kept these guys in the gym, working them out. They could never get enough, and they stayed dedicated and even keeled throughout the whole thing. And then, we go to Atlanta in the summer at the Under Armour Championships, and we go 3-1 in pool play. We qualify for the championship bracket, win our first game against a really tough Illinois Wolves team, win our second game in convincing fashion by 30 plus against Breakaway Basketball, and they're out of Chicago. And who do we have in the semifinals but Team Thrill, and they're just like top to bottom, like they are so good. So good. but our guys were ready, man. And they played together, and um, they were just resilient. They were
Yeah.
just so resilient. We ended the first quarter. I think we were down like 13 fouls. There were 11 fouls called on us. There was one foul called on them. Um,
Dude,
so
how does that
uh,
happen in basketball? That's a one thing
yeah,
that blows my mind. Like these guys are playing the same physical game. I mean, you're telling me one
yeah,
team's playing way more physical than the other? Like, come on.
yeah. And they're. I mean, they're so much bigger than us. It's like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Even
you
more
know.
so.
So it was like we were definitely fouling. Don't get me wrong. It's
Yeah.
like only the only thing we could do at some points. But we felt that they were fouling as well, and Mike very eloquently said that to the referee, which she didn't really care for. But that's neither here nor there. But again, when you get in those situations, right? You're down 13. 13 can become 20 in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
But if you're going like 2 minutes go by and 3 minutes go by and 4 minutes go by, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's 10. That's interesting. Oh, it's nine.
Yeah.
Okay, let's chip away and let's get like another bucket.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's seven at halftime, right? And you go into this 7 point game at halftime, and you're like, look, we're not getting a call, right? But we're playing very good defense. We got to keep moving the ball offensively. We got to get that ball. We got to go in transition. You make a couple of adjustments, and all of a sudden, seven becomes three,
Yeah.
and you're midway through the third quarter, and then it becomes seven again, and then it's three at the end of the third quarter. I think a lot of coaches and a lot of people are kind of like, "Oh my God, we're down 13. We need the instant gratification. We need that 13-point shot."
Yeah.
Doesn't exist. You just got to keep chopping, man.
Giving away,
You
man.
got to keep chopping. You got to keep doing it. So it's a 3 point game going into the fourth quarter, and then our guys just stepped up. I
Yeah.
mean, Jacob Hogarth was unbelievable. CJ Happy, unbelievable. Austin Hunt, unbelievable. CJ Cox, like Luca was. I mean, these guys are just making huge plays for each other.
Yeah.
Looking for each other, making great cuts, making great shots. Ryan Mila was incredible. The whole team, was just so good. So we win by three, and we go into the finals against Canada Elite, who have a really good sophomore, 5-star sophomore, playing up, best player in Canada, and we're battling back and forth the next day. Early game, I think it was like noon or something after we just came off that high last night.
Right.
And it's going back and forth. They're really good. We're really good. They're hitting shots. We're hitting shots. They're getting stops. We're getting stops. And then there's like 6 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, championship game, and we're down by 8. And we're like, here we go. We're here again, right? Every time we've faced the adversity, we've met it head on. We've met it together. We will continue to do this. We'll continue to battle it. We'll continue to be together. And winning or losing never really came into our minds, I don't think.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was just like, keep chopping, keep chipping away, keep being together, keep representing us the right way, keep playing hard. And we did, and we went on to win by 4.
So winning
And
something like that is incredible, right? I mean, are these
it's,
so this
yeah.
tournament is this like the biggest? I mean, are you seeing like the 5 stars of 5 stars in high
Yep.
school basketball in North
Yeah.
America, let's
Yeah.
say?
Like the Under Armour Association, like there are 3 big, sneaker circuits. Under Armour is the one that we're on. But like Chet Holmgren, Oklahoma City Thunder kid, like, he plays for I'm sorry, he played on the Under Armour Association. Like there are every team that you play has 4 division 1 guys. Like they are, it's legit. It's legit. And one thing that the Under Armour Association does focus on is they want programs. They want teams. So, the way that we used to beat teams was like we'd play together, they'd play as individuals. And now we're up against a bunch of Division 1 guys who played the same way we do.
Right,
And
right.
that's really, really, really difficult. Like, Team Thrill, I mean, their big guy, Derek Queen, he's ridiculously good. I mean, he's got all sorts of offers from everywhere, right? I mean, their guard Chance Mallory, they get another guard going to Providence, like Team Curry, who's another Under Armour Association team. Their best player just committed to Notre Dame. Illinois Wolves, who we played in the first round, their best player just committed to Notre Dame. Pro One Basketball Club, who's actually an Under Armour Rise, which is like the second division, which all these teams are so good. I don't even
Right. It's
know.
like, yeah.
But their best player is going to Creighton, so there are they're just loaded. I mean, there's I think 30 teams, and
winning
every one of
this
them.
winning this like against people like that, I mean, for you guys, what does that do as far as your status with Under Armour goes, as far as maybe
Yeah,
you
yeah,
get from that versus like, yeah,
right.
so what happens like winning a tournament like that? Obviously it blows it up for you guys. It's a PR monster for you, but
Yeah, of
what does
course.
Under
Yeah.
Armour maybe do with that as well?
That's a good question. I think that's up to them, but
Yeah.
I think that if you're looking around and you're like, where do I want to send my kid to learn how to be part of a team,
Yeah.
how to be part of a program that has values and principles and live up to those? I think that it's very easy to look at the Magic and be like, they play for the name on the front of the jersey, you
Yeah.
know. Um, but Under Armour is, I mean, they're incredible. Like
Right.
they did so much with their social media, they did so much with their promotional stuff to promote us. But it's funny, there was a tournament in Vegas the week after in July,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to be for the four best Nike teams, four best Adidas teams, and four best Under Armour teams, and Nike backed out,
Oh wow.
right? Because Nike, like they don't want to. If they lose to us, it's probably not the best look for Nike.
Right.
Um, when they lose to us, it's probably not the best look for Nike. But so we went out there, and it was the eight best Adidas teams and the eight best Under Armour teams, and I think we finished in fifth, and Team Thrill won the whole thing.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, and these Adidas teams, like same thing, Kansas, Kentucky, like so many highly touted recruits, and um, the records going into the championship game were even.
Yeah.
So Adidas won as many games as Under Armour, and Team Thrill wins the last one. So
Wow.
Under Armour gets the
Well, it just
slight
shows you how
edge.
good that is too, because I mean, here you
Yeah.
guys are battling with them and win some, lose some, like, and then here they are
Yep.
winning it. You finish fit. I mean, it just shows you how like
Yeah.
such good teams. Like you could have
And
been in that tournament the next week and somebody else would win it. You know?
right. And it was so cool too to support the guys that we've gone to war against for the
Yeah.
past 2 years.
Because now
And
they're technically your team, like your brand,
yeah,
right? Like,
yeah, exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So it was a bit weird, but seeing those guys, like, we're going into the gym, they're leaving. Hey, how'd it go? Oh, dude, good. Keep representing Under Armour. Keep
right.
helping Under Armour. And yeah, to have an Under Armour team win that was pretty
Huge.
cool. I wish it was us, but
Yeah, yeah, I
um,
know. I
you
know.
know, if I had my druthers, I'd definitely take the Under Armour championship.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, but yeah, just an incredible summer. Just that core group of guys, and they got what they deserved, and you know it was our turn to celebrate with the water guns and the goggles and the
All
you
that
know
fun
and the,
stuff.
the sparkling cider. Yeah,
Yeah,
winning's
exactly.
the best, man. You know it.
Yeah. It's yeah, there's nothing better than it.
Yeah,
Like it's tough when
exactly.
you've been there and you've tasted it and then you have consistency to continue to get back there. But like you said, the climb's hard. Climbs,
Yeah,
everybody else is
no.
getting better. Like you said, people remember moments or remember things that happened in a game that maybe prevented them from getting where they needed to get to. And the team brings back a solid core, has a good culture, or is able to build off of that. It's not easy to always get back there, know how much talent you might
No,
have. So
especially when
uh,
you're so close to it and you lose and you just never know when you're going to be back there.
right,
It's
that's the thing. You just never know, right? Like you
yeah.
might. There's been plenty of years at AC that we returned the team one year that as juniors they were good, and we're like, we're gonna be pretty good, and we were like, okay,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
So sometimes you have those expectations and you always don't always accomplish it either. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah. Yeah.
and for you, obviously, like 2020, you changed a lot and kind of looked at things
Yeah.
and balance in your life and what made the most sense for you. And you mentioned even earlier, like, yeah, like eating, like I've been a coach and just eating like the worst food, like just not taking care of myself. And you're right, there is just a lot of truth to that. And
Yeah.
but for you, you have the family, you have the business
Mhm.
that is striving and doing well.
Yeah.
At that point, we'll talk about like your professional career path, but you were
Right.
still in education at that point.
Yeah.
This job opened up. What was the attractiveness to the Chelmsford job and saying, "Hey, I kind of want to take over a high school squad here and
Mhm.
specifically maybe this program."
Yeah. Well, I live in Chelmsford.
I was gonna ask you in conversation, so
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense. Okay, all
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
that's good.
So my wife is from here. She went to the high school. So living in town for us, it's an adjustment, dude.
Yeah.
Like when I first got here, I was like, "Oh, I have cows in my neighborhood
Yeah,
and,
dude,
and
right?
horses." Um, and like, although we're not like shooting hoops on the side of a barn,
No.
it's pretty country for a kid who grew up in Medford, you know.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, dude. Absolutely.
so yeah, so the attractiveness to the job, I mean, there's a couple things. As I'm building Gold Standard up, I'm like, I really like the spot I'm in. You know, um, I'm my own boss. I enjoy doing things, my own way, investing in my coaches, my people, like figuring this whole thing out on my own. I've never fancied myself a businessman like at all.
Yeah.
So having that whole trial and error, like that's been really fun for me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of brought out this side of basketball that I dabbled in a little bit with the skill development. So that was, as that kind of got bigger, it was something that I wasn't really to let go of yet,
Yeah.
or sacrifice any part of it yet. So when the job came up, my initial thought was like, okay, like, I could do this. I could, but I don't want to sacrifice any of the stuff that I'm doing with Gold Standard. I love helping kids. We've had clients from kindergarten to the NBA and everywhere in between. And I love helping every single one of them, the good ones, the ones who need work, all of it. So that was something I was definitely not willing to part with. And when the athletic director told me that I'm a candidate because they want to bring that to Chelmsford, then it's like, wow, this entire thing just shifted.
Yeah.
I don't think I was ready to really go back to coaching a team.
Yeah.
Um, and then, when this opportunity comes up, I'm like, wow, so I could train in town with the young kids and like
Yeah.
really see them come up through the system. Like
Like you literally now have
that's
farm system for your
right,
your
right.
program.
And with if my son can play whatever sport he wants, right?
Yeah.
If he likes basketball, sure, great,
Yeah.
awesome. I might have the chance to coach him. That
Cool.
would be really cool.
Yeah.
If he wants to play hockey, like he tells me every day, then great. I know that he's going to be with a good program. But I think when you're living in Chelmsford, you're driving to Cambridge to get to Leslie, or Medford to get to Tufts, or you're living in Medford, you're driving to Riviera, Nashua to coach. You're kind of all over the place, and to know that like even with Gold Standard, like a lot of our stuff is in Wellesley, a lot of our stuff is in Andover, and to know that Gold Standard could be in Chelmsford at the high school, 7 minutes from my house,
Yeah.
and I can coach my team 7 minutes from my house. And we just started this fall with Magic teams up in Chelmsford. So we got five Magic teams playing out of McCarthy Middle School in Chelmsford. Like
So
that
they just
commute,
looked at you as a huge investment then, in a sense, like what you've created through your reputation and what you've created through your business, they basically see this as an opportunity to like take Chelmsford basketball and I don't know anything about it previously, but like
Right, right,
putting it and molding it together and saying, okay, we have this guy who's successful at an extremely high level with an AAU team, is extremely highly successful in his alumni and who he has comes through his standard of basketball.
right.
This now we can now inject into our program, inject into our town, and be able to create young basketball players that are playing competitively, not just in town, in tournaments. And am I
Mhm.
wrong here? Like this is like what I'm kind of hearing.
I think you'd have to ask the
Ask them, right?
yeah,
Okay,
the board.
fair enough.
Um, but I know this, if that is true and they're invested in me and they believe in me, then I'm going to pay it forward and I'm going to invest in our coaches and our travel coaches. I'm going to invest in our youth. I'm going to coach the coaches. I'm going to help them out. I'm going to coach the kids. I'm going to help them out. Um, but it's about living up to and representing Chelmsford basketball.
Yeah,
It's not about wins and losses. It never will be. If you win and if you live and die by the wins and losses, you're gonna have your gallbladder out when you're 34.
yeah,
Um, you know, but if you learn from that, and you do it the right way and you build the culture and you invest in these people and you invest in the town, then it becomes something that you can really hang your hat on. Um,
yeah.
so I would like to think that everything you said is true. I
I
hope so.
mean, dude, it absolutely is. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like that. Like
I
I'm
appreciate
thinking
that.
like that because it's so true. Like, I mean, I struggled at a small Catholic school at AC that you don't
Right,
have feeder program. You don't have kids. Like, you just can't go to town and say, "Hey, we're doing a quarterback clinic, or we're doing a wide receiver
right,
clinic, or we're doing whatever," because then they're not going to go hand that out in schools and in rec programs because it means you're stealing
right,
their players. Like, so
right.
it's hard. So when you have that opportunity to now work with these kids in the world of basketball, it's so different because it is a year-round sport,
Yes.
and
Yep.
there's so many different brands of it out there and coaching AU teams and everything else. So it is highly competitive year round. And obviously they see your success. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Like that's what I see. Now, what are you inheriting
I
here as
appreciate
far
that.
as program goes and what you know about your squad and maybe just even some of the small things you've done? I mean, the season, I know we're in football season right now, but it's October next
Right.
week. You guys
Hmm.
are right after Thanksgiving. Realistically, you guys are ready to go.
Yeah.
So a couple months.
Yeah. Yeah. We got about 2 months.
Yeah.
And it's been difficult because there's so many MIA rules. Like, you
Yeah.
can't do anything basketball related. And I think for us, first thing is like, what are we inheriting? Well, we're inheriting a team who won 12 games last year, went to the Division 1 state tournament, lost a game at St. John Shrewsbury at the buzzer. Um, Really, really good team last year. Uh, Returning two all conference players. Um, it's the best league in the state. I
Yeah.
mean, you got top to bottom Lawrence, Lowell, Andover, um, you know, Central Catholic, North Andover, Methuen,
Right. I mean,
Haverhill.
you
Like,
in all sports, you're
yeah, yeah. So it's a gauntlet.
yeah.
Um, but I just love to compete, man.
But you're
I
used to
love
that. I
it.
mean, look at the teams
Yeah,
you're playing. You just named all these teams from all over the country that
yeah.
have five-star recruits and some of the best high school basketball in the country, period, or even on the continent planet.
Right,
And
right,
and here you are, you're like, yep, this is a tough league, and obviously you don't have certain kids walking through the door like a
right, right.
some
Yeah, yeah. And
magic.
that's the beauty of it.
Challenge.
That's honestly the beauty of it is like,
Yeah,
we're not a private school. We are a small town, smallish town,
yeah,
and it's a public high school. And when you go up against towns that are way bigger and they have more kids and they have coaches who've had systems in place longer. Um, you know, it's like, what are we up against?
yeah,
It should be interesting. I think, my thing is like I wouldn't want it any other way.
yeah,
I want to play against the best and I want to beat the best and I want to learn from
yeah,
these coaches and I want to learn from these players. I want to see them play. So I'm very excited for the season. And our guys they've been good. That we have a long way to go. We have a lot of work to do. We played in the summer league this year, won some games. Played in two summer leagues this year, won some games. We're in a fall league right now. Um, and you know, from a distance, it's like I can't really put my hands on it and be like, hey, this is what we need to do. This is how we're going to
Which is
build it.
crazy. Which is, I mean, we can
Yeah,
talk about that in a
yeah,
second. Go ahead, just keep going.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. But I think for me, it is crazy, but it also builds trust.
Yeah,
It also shows me who wants to work. It also shows me who believes in our program. It shows me, what the expectation is, how we do things. These guys are in the weight room 5 days a week. These guys are in the gym playing pickup six
yeah,
days a week. And, I think that when you're starting something, there's always a little bit of like, oh man, like new coach, is he gonna cut me? Like what's gonna happen? So I
yeah,
better go work as hard as I can. So we also want to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons,
yeah,
yeah. So we're returning some good pieces, and we got some good pieces coming in, and I really think it's all about how we are able to, um, how we're able to build the culture, how we're able to build the program, and consistently bring that those core values to life. You know.
yeah. And it's great. And like I said to you before, there's no doubt that they invested in that because coaching, let's also be real. I mean, there are still happening. I think when I did my homework, you took over for a decently tenured coach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Charlie was. He's all. I mean, I was lucky enough to have a great relationship with him,
Yeah.
and still have a great relationship with him. But he was there for like over 30 years, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, he's revered in town. So
So that's it. I mean, they look at that clearly and say, "Hey, this program had X amount of success for X amount of years, and we had a
hmm
good guy leading the program, and now we want to call it a predecessor or whatever you want to call it, but like
yeah, yeah,
someone who's like stepping in that is, young and invested in town, has a young family, wife's from town, your family, your in-laws probably know like people too. Like,
yeah,
so it's like
yeah,
you're invested within the town. So they just see you as maybe that next long-term fit, as far as
yeah,
their program goes.
yeah. I hope so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know, and
definitely.
and I hope we have a ton of success.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish we could practice tomorrow.
Yeah, he's chomping at the bit. I get it. I totally get it.
But
And
yeah.
so this will be kind of the last question that I ask you, but I saved this for last because I was trying to think about as we were talking how to really set this up. But we talked off air, and you were also an educator. You were in education as well, ESL teacher, fifth and
Yep.
sixth grade, fifth grade teacher. So we understand that the same age.
Yeah. Yeah.
But for you this year not only made a decision of obviously becoming a head coach in that next chapter of your life in
hmm
Chelmsford, but you also made a huge decision in your life to leave teaching, leave education, and
Yeah.
really go all in on gold standard and do that. And to me, that is really honorable. I mean, I'm very like so I'm just so intrigued to just kind of hear what you have to say here because to me, this is something I've always been like a what if scenario for myself. Like, what if
Yeah.
it got to a certain point? Would I do that? And now I have someone here in front of me who's kind of doing that. And it's just in the beginning phases of that. But for you, maybe just talk about that decision a little bit and your advice to
hmm
people who might be in that spot of they're an entrepreneur who started a side business and they're afraid to make that leap because they don't know
Yeah.
if their real job is what's needed to survive. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to give you the floor here for a minute because I think this is
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
listeners will be including myself.
Sure. Sure. I appreciate that. I'm actually going to go
Yeah,
out on a limb here too,
yeah,
because I was an ESL teacher, and the reason I chose to go into ESL teaching was because my mom was an ESL teacher
well,
in Medford at the Brooks Hobbs, and I lost my mom my sophomore year of high school.
yeah,
And so for me to kind of like carry on that tradition, I remember graduating college and being like, yeah, I want to coach, but I don't really know like what I want to do full time.
Yeah.
And it just so happened like I was like, okay, go back to school, get certified. I'm going to take these classes and I'm going to continue to carry that torch, as I said. So I spent 13 years as an ESL teacher, and it was in Lowell, which was there's a lot of ESL kids there,
Yeah.
and there's a lot the language barrier and the whole thing, and I was as I was teaching, and it was really important to me for that reason. But it also allowed me the flexibility to coach.
Yeah.
So when I left coaching 2020 and everything's remote, whatever, we go back in the fall, and that was when I first thought I was like, it might be time for me to move on.
Yeah.
And education is in a really tough spot. I'm not particularly envy of administrators because it's really difficult for them as well. And I learned a lot of lessons on how to be a leader, both what to do and mostly what not to do. But you know, I think making the leap for me kind of was like, all right, what's the financial implication? How do we get that sorted out? Because when you're a 13-year teacher and you're tenured and your pension and all the reasons people might want to stay in teaching, that plays a huge part. And there's also the familiarity, the security of that paycheck, the comfort of being kind of that worker bee, and knowing what my hours are and how it's going to play out week to week, and plan out my vacations and my weekends. Um, and then the third thing for me, which was probably the most difficult, was being at peace with letting go of that occupation of that, doing the same thing my mom did.
Yeah.
Um, so, as Gold Standard has grown over the past 3 years, it really started to become a reality probably over the summer. Like
Yeah.
when I tell you in like May, I was like, I'm never going to be able to do this. Like feeling pretty hopeless. Like, okay, we'll go back and teach, and next year. And then when that summer camp season started to roll around, I was like, okay, let me get the financials in order. You know, let me get out of my comfort zone. Let me get to my camp and make a full day of it. Let me get my extra work in, do these workouts. Let's set up some skills academies, and do it with intent, and get my coaches to really buy in and invest in them for them to provide instruction. So I really did it all. I created a coach's handbook. I've written a couple curriculums for skill development that I've had published. So really just trying to um, kind of like move that safety net over to like, hey, we're not just offering workouts at the drop of a hat. We have substance here, and our skills academies and our clinics, they all go along a certain curriculum. So we know that teaching is going to be impactful. And by the way, we invest in our coaches, and we have the best skills trainers in the state. And we know that they are able to relay that information to your child to help them to teach, or to help them understand how to be successful in life through basketball.
Yeah.
So I did find some security there. And then, I essentially spent the whole summer really doing some soul searching, and really, just kind of trying to be mindful, and thinking about what my mom would say if she were alive, and her words, because for those who knew my mom knew that she was super fiery and feisty and passionate, um, and it just came down to like, I can totally picture her saying, just go do it,
Or-
just
Yeah.
go do it, believe in yourself, you can be incredible at this. Um, so so yeah, it was tough, but coming to that decision, it was in August. I was really going back and forth. I was like 99% sure, and then my accountant kind of got me over the financial aspect, and I said, you know what, I'm going to take this leap because in 10 years when I'm 48, I don't want to look back and say, man, I really
Right.
should have done it,
Yeah.
So yeah, I resigned, and it's been it's been equally as liberating as it has been kind of anxiety provoking,
Yeah.
right? Because when you're returning emails at, like, 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, I'm like, oh, I got to get to work, and I'm like, okay, this is work. All
Yeah.
right, no, this is good. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so to be able to really hang my hat on knowing that those three things are were taken care of, then I was ready. And if I can, I'm ready to see this thing soar to the next level, um, as I am ready to get up if I fall flat on my face.
Yeah.
And that's how life is, man. So
Yeah. No, I mean, I give you
it's
a lot of credit because it takes a lot of courage. I mean, like I said to you, I flirted with the idea of being like, man, if we got to a certain place,
right.
would I really leave what I do, but dude, you work hard at something and you continue and you make contacts and you get lucky
Hmm.
sometimes too, and you just
Yeah,
strike at the
yeah,
right time or have the right person on or the right person listens to a soundbite of you or like there's just so
right.
much. But I give you a lot of credit, man, because that's investing in yourself. Obviously your family is your motivation and making
Yeah,
sure that is, the success of that is the success of that. So
I
um
appreciate that. Hey,
that's
did I mention that my wife is a saint?
yeah, I mean, dude, like
Imagine having that conversation. Hey, I know I've been a
I was
teacher
thinking
for,
about asking if I'm being
like,
totally honest, and then I was like,
yeah,
no, because I don't know how that conversation really went, right? So I was like, I'm not
yeah,
even gonna like touch
yeah,
that, but
and that's the best part. Meg is so, like, she's so organized and she's so prepared, and she's like, well, if you're gonna do it, then we need to know what this is and what A and B and C, and I'm like, oh, totally. I would have just quit. Like,
yeah,
I
yeah,
would have just been like, see ya. So she is definitely, she has helped on that journey, and she's been super supportive, and it's been, yeah, it's been incredible to see all the time that she sacrificed when I was in the middle of wherever, Southern Vermont or wherever, at an away game for 18 hours. Um, and all the time that we sacrificed together to see it kind of come back on the full end, and still have her be supportive of such a crazy idea, like a crazy jump when you're 38 years old. Like,
yeah.
yeah, saint.
Yeah, no,
um,
that's good, dude.
yeah,
You're lucky. And that's the most important part of coaching, I think, when you're talking about team and commitment and bond. I mean, that's like your wife is your, she's really the head,
yeah,
right? So like,
oh
it's
yeah,
really making sure that like your team at home, your family at home is, that all of this pieces of these puzzle fit together correctly.
right,
And
right.
knowing that, yeah, basketball season is probably going to be a little bit more hectic for her. But I've
Hmm.
had a lot of coaches on here, especially basketball coaches, truthfully, that they always talk about their wives, saying, "I wouldn't be
Yeah,
posted with my wife or my girlfriend or my significant other or
yeah,
whoever." So it's yeah, you have to you need that balance at home in order for it to work outside of
yeah,
home. So that's great, man.
yeah,
But
no
yeah,
doubt.
I want to thank you for coming on here today, man. Obviously you have a lot coming up the next couple of months.
Yeah,
Obviously basketball season's right around the corner. We'd love to do some beyond college
dude,
with
I
Chelsea
was
basketball
just
too.
gonna ask.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, so
Let's
we
go.
actually just bought this crazy camera thing. Like it like locks in on like if you have it lock in on a certain person or lock in on a certain like it will
Oh, dude,
move
it moves
around and
with it.
spin all around.
Oh,
Yeah, so
all
working this
right.
night job is paying its dividends already a little
Yeah, let's go.
bit. But
Let's go.
yeah, like today I worked literally 12 hours, but it was like I was just like, yeah, I wasn't supposed to. And long
Right.
story short, like just they needed someone. I was like, you know what? I'll just do it. Like it's
Do it.
extra coin
Yep.
in the pocket and I'll do
Yeah,
it,
of
So
course. Of
Yeah, so it
course.
was good. So our next thing is hopefully by basketball season is to have a second camera. We're about
Nice.
we make good money, but dude, it's tough, because then you're buying merch and then you're
Oh
paying
yeah.
second shooters and then you're
Yep.
investing in editing programs and it
Hmm.
all adds up after a while. So you try to
Yeah.
but this is kind of like what we feel like for us would be like the next big step. So you might luck out. We might have all our high tech equipment by the time basketball
Dude.
season starts.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
We would love to have Beyond up in Chelmsford. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we could get that set up, man, that would be incredible. We'd love to have you up into Lion Country. Go see the
Yeah.
Tundra. That's our student section.
Okay. I
Um,
like that. See, that's it, man. We go to football games, like football games crowd, we always get like a nutty crowd. In basketball games, there's been a few like crazy crowds, but we're still looking for that crowd. Like we're
yeah,
still looking for that. Burlington boys basketball a couple of years ago, I covered them in the state semis. Those kids were nuts. Like I had a kid on there a
crazy.
ton. But yeah, we're still looking for that crowd. We're still looking for that group. So
Yeah, it's
maybe
it's
Chelmsford's
funny. I
it.
was I was asking the other day. I was asking the RAD. I was like, I hear a lot of good things about the Tundra. What's it like? He's like, oh, you're just gonna have to experience it. I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, so
Hey,
that's a good start. Sounds good.
great start.
Every now and then I give him a shout out on Twitter. I'm like, hey Tundra, and I
Yeah,
tag
you
them.
got to, dude. You got to. Student sections are, I would say,
Yeah,
our coverage so much. Student section because on top we meet these kids and then they end up being a lacrosse player, a baseball player, a
right.
softball player, or whatever, and then you're like, all right, cool, we'll
You
cover
should
you
go
this
there.
season, we'll
Yeah,
cover you next
yeah,
season, and yeah, so
yeah.
it's like and it works out that way. But good luck with everything this season. Obviously, you got to fan at us, and any stuff you ever want to send our way as far as like clips or highlights or send it. Like we love
Yeah.
posting that stuff. We do it football season. I feel like our story is always flooded with highlight reels and everything else. So we love to do
Sure.
that for you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate your time, dude. And congrats on all your success, man. I love this. As soon as I heard the first podcast, I was like, I need to be on this podcast. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I really appreciate it, man. And yeah, congrats on all your success and keep
Thank
it
you.
rolling.
Yeah, man. We today is actually our third birthday. Today is
Let's
Beyond turns 3.
go.
Yeah, Beyond turns 3
Let's
today.
go,
So
man.
we haven't put anything on
Happy
social
birthday.
media yet. Thank you. Yeah. So
Can
we're
I give
super,
you
super
can I give
excited.
you one piece of advice?
Absolutely.
Have some cake, don't eat the candles.
That's funny, dude. I might have to make a video of just eating a candle and showing everybody what
Yeah.
happened.
Oh,
Oh
that's
man.
incredible, dude. Happy birthday. That's
Thanks,
awesome.
dude. Thanks. So yeah, we're
Um,
excited for our next chapter. We're gonna be actually near you. We're gonna be up in the Show Attack. I mean, that's like a town over, I think, for you guys are a
yeah,
couple times, but we're
yeah.
gonna be up there for Friday night football.
Where's
So
it where's the tech? Bolton?
honestly, I have
I think
no
it's
idea. We went there
oh
last year, and
boy.
I definitely went through Chelmsford because I feel like my brother lives in Chelmsford, and I feel like I was like not even 10
Let's
minutes from his house.
bro,
Yeah.
are you serious?
Yeah,
Let's
my younger
go.
brother is my younger brother's in Chelmsford. Yeah.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah. He just
Oh
moved
my
there
God.
in the summer. Actually, no, probably about close to a year ago. I would say he's probably been in Chelmsford for about a year. So
That's incredible. That's
yeah,
incredible.
so
Well,
I was
if
pretty
he has
close to
any if he has any children and they like basketball, I know a good training program they could
him. No kids yet. No kids yet.
good
At
for
least
him.
I know though. At least I know.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
but
dude.
yeah, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited to see you guys this winter.
Yeah, for sure. We'll lock that in soon. And
All right.
yeah. So guys, this is Beyond Podcast. We're signing off here. We got a big week coming up. We got the Shoba Tech football this Friday. We're gonna have the squad on Wednesday with their head coach a little bit to hype up the game. Real 1-2 this year, but they play a top 10 schedule in their conference. I mean, they played 3 teams ranked in the top 10. So they don't shy away. They lost a close one last week by 4 points, I think under a minute left. So they're in every game they play. They're a good squad, and we're super excited to be there. We got some great guests lined up for next week as well. So we're excited for what we have. And again, guys, till next time.